Jeremy. I always enjoy when I'm introduced to Dr. Martin. I'm Jeremy. No one who knows me has ever called me doctor. And Tim and I are going to talk a little bit about the admissions process. What we hope to do is talk about it generally, in some ways to demystify it, in ways that hopefully empower you to go back to your communities and particularly to your young people and say, hey, have you thought about this next step? We are never released from William & Mary to not say some glowing things about William & Mary, and it is a great place, and we hope a number of your young students will come to us and study. But that's what we hope to do. We will have time for questions at the end, but if you have a burning question immediately during the presentation, hope you'll ask it then. The last thanks I should add, by the way, is to Ms. Adams. There's nothing better than standing at a podium with clicker, knowing that you had nothing to do with whether or not your slides work, and that someone else has already taken care of it. And then, all right. And then click. All right, here we go. All right.
That's what I'm here for.
So we're going to talk about tangible benefits of a degree. I'll say this again when we get there. I don't mean anything vulgar by talking about lifetime income or unemployment rates. Just simply want to note there are tangible benefits to higher education that we'll walk through. We then want to talk about pathways to college. There are several great pathways for any young person to make their way to a college degree in Virginia and walk through those. And then ultimately we want to talk a little bit about affordability and how you can put a degree within reach for someone who may have more limited means. Lifetime income increases with every educational degree you attain. And so if you start looking at less than high school, and we use high school diploma as the baseline, every step up you take, your lifetime income increases to the point that if you earn a bachelor's degree, you're getting close to saying that during the course of my life, I will earn $2 for every dollar that someone who has a high school diploma will earn. Now, Glenn Dubois, who is formerly the chancellor of the Virginia Community College System, was terrific to tell a joke. I understand that not everyone will earn a bachelor's degree. There are a number of great fields in which you can do quite well for yourself and your family that don't involve a college degree. His story that he would joke was he had some electrical work done at his home. When the electrician handed him the bill, he said, "Good Lord, I don't even pay my lawyer these rates." The electrician responds, "I know, that's why I closed my practice." So there are any number of great ways to a great livelihood, but we're going to particularly focus on a bachelor's degree in college today. There's nothing right after a break like a fairly complicated graph, but I do want to walk through this one with you. This is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And so the red line that you see at the top, which has the highest rates of unemployment, are individuals who have less than a college degree. Less than a high school degree, excuse me. And one of the things to particularly note, these gray bars are recessions in the economy. And so what you'll note is that unemployment goes up for everyone during a recession, right? But the individuals who are most affected are those who have lower levels of education. If you have a bachelor's degree or higher, your impact on recessions is much lower and your unemployment rate is lower generally. So again, the only purpose of higher education is not tangible benefits of lifetime income and unemployment, job security and things like that, but they are real and tangible benefits to earning higher degrees throughout your educational process. Tim.
All right, take the floor. Well, again, as we try to do the nice little handoff here, my role in all this is I have a chance to work very closely with students, with families, with colleagues throughout Virginia and beyond in terms of the college search process. One of the things that I've benefited from and had a chance to see through the decades I've been in this process is really an appreciation for the different colleges and universities in Virginia. As Jeremy indicated, our role here today a little bit is to certainly highlight at times William & Mary, but more importantly, talking about the variety of different options out there on the higher education landscape. And what I love about the institutions in Virginia is the variety in terms of location, size, the type of experience they offer, and the hope there is recognizing when we think about the college experience and when we talk about the tangible benefits that Jeremy highlighted, we're also trying to think about it from the perspective of fit and ultimately trying to find a good match for each student and where are they going to be able to thrive, where are they going to be able to flourish. I'm going to talk a little bit in a couple minutes here, recognizing the path to admission, the path to enrolling at particularly a four-year institution here in Virginia, we sometimes approach it as just saying, the admission process or applying. And what we fail to fully realize is there are a lot of different paths. There are a lot of different journeys along the way that can result in that same end opportunity. And we're going to talk about a couple different ones here today, but I hope as you all have a chance to guide and mentor and assist students through this process, and I know this was referenced a little bit earlier before too, there isn't necessarily just one door or one path, and we want to help students at different points. So this slide highlights, particularly as we're working with students at the high school level, in Virginia there are two fundamental diplomas offered at the public secondary schools here in Virginia, the Advanced Studies Diploma and the Standard Diploma. And the way it's set up, the Advanced Studies Diploma is you're working with students who ultimately are interested in going on to a four-year college or university. The more we can encourage them to take the Advanced Studies Diploma, which is going to ask, and we'll see this on the next slide, we'll ask them to take some more courses. The hope there is that is going to give them the best preparation for going on to a college or university in Virginia and beyond. And you can see some of the statistics here that show that in a very different way, that those students who are pursuing the Advanced Studies Diploma while in high school, they are going to experience very strong success rates when they get to the college and university environment. I would also highlight that the second bullet there, where opportunity arises, and this is something that we value tremendously, I know, in our specific admission process, but I know certainly for my colleagues at other places too, whenever a student has the opportunity to take things like dual enrollment courses, which are offered more and more at so many of our high schools with our partners in the Virginia Community College system, if a student has an opportunity to take dual enrollment courses or advanced placement or international baccalaureate courses in high school, that serves multiple benefits. One, that type of course really helps prepare that student to succeed in the classes when they enroll in our institutions. But two, in some situations, it can also have, if we go back to Jeremy's tangible benefits, sometimes it can have a benefit of certainly providing the student with advanced credit, which might mean they're able to graduate a little bit sooner or be able to take more courses. So there's a monetary tangible benefit there too. Let's see if we can get this right. Oh, that might have gone too far. So as I mentioned, and I'll just leave this one up here briefly, but the Advanced Studies Diploma compared to the Standard Diploma, you can kind of see across the line, it's going to ask the students to take a few more courses. That should be more than doable within that high school experience, but stretching just that little bit extra can really help set the student up to succeed. And that's something so often in all of the media coverage, all of the conversations, it seems like there's far too much focus on the admission part, right? The applying to college part, and not enough is said about the what do you do when you get there. And truly, that is what ultimately matters, and that is the true success story, is not just going to college, not just applying or being admitted to college, but what happens when you get there. And steps like this, I think, can help best ensure that a student ends up coming out of high school, if they go straight on to a four-year college, to be prepared to succeed. Some key dates, and this is one of the important things to remember through all this. This is an ongoing process. And when you look at when a student is a senior in high school and they are engaging in the application process, it starts as early as during the fall. And for most students out there, we need to think of this in some ways as a parallel process. And this is where we know we want to be helpful. We want to make sure resources, individuals are there to help our students. There's two paths. There's applying to college, but then there's also the financial aid process. And I know for all of us in the four-year universities, we really want to make sure students are following both of those pathways, and that begins as early as right now. In October, November, actually many colleges will start doing application deadlines as early as October, November, but also the financial aid process. The primary federal financial aid application, the FAFSA form, but then also something called the CSS profile, which some schools will use. Those are available in the fall, and I encourage you, if you are working with families and students during that senior year, during that fall, encourage them to get that process started early. The sooner they can do that, the better off our financial aid offices can work with the students and help give them the support they need to succeed. But it is a long timeline where the students will send in their applications, and then sometimes it might not be until January or February where you're able to review those, and then you have that quick turnaround in April when you're hearing back from your schools and usually deciding right around that May 1st timeline where you're going to enroll. And I kind of will jump back and forth in the calendar here because that time in April and May can pass very, very quickly. And if a student is still trying to get information about financial aid finished out at that late stage, that can put them in a tough situation. So as soon as we can get them moving forward on that earlier on, the better off they will be. And then the final slide that I'm going to take kind of primary coverage here for, we talk about the application process from high school students straight to the four-year universities, but at the same time, we want to know that there's another path through transferring in from one of our community colleges. And I highlight this as an option for two reasons. One, from a financial standpoint, this can at times be an incredibly affordable option. It can be a very useful and convenient option for students. All of us on the four-year university side, every single four-year public university in Virginia, we have agreements set up with our colleagues at the community colleges where we will map out the specific courses a student needs to take, the specific grades they need to take, and we will provide them with a guaranteed admission pathway. So you can be a student that goes on and does your first 2 years at a community college and know that you have a guaranteed pathway to end up at William & Mary, at University of Virginia, at Old Dominion, any of our colleagues across campus. So that's one important message we want our students to know, is that coming out of high school, there's an opportunity to go to one of our schools, but also if it would work better for the student to begin at the community college, that is a viable and a very successful pathway to the four-year universities too. So with that said, I know the other part that we really wanted to dive into also was some of the financial aid components, so I will pass that off to Jeremy.
So not to just be the tangible guy, but I always enjoyed it when my mother put the cookies on the bottom shelf and then I had too many cookies. If you are talking to a young person, tangible question, tell me what you're learning about in school. And you can encourage them from however they respond. And I have a 12-year-old daughter. I get that the answers are not always, well, I'm going in this course sequence and that kind of thing. If you ask a young person, tell me what you're learning about in school, it gives you a chance to say, oh, well, you know what, if algebra wasn't your favorite, maybe geometry is the next subject you take, or some of those kind of things. So what are you learning about in school? And the next thing is, just asking to say, when you know someone who might be going to an associate's degree, if they go through one of the VCCS transfer programs and do the associate's degree first, they have already likely increased their lifetime income. Like through this step as a guaranteed step before they even get to a four-year degree program. So great question whenever you're talking to a young person. Tell me what you're learning about in school and see where the conversation goes. Financial aid is an overly complicated thing. So here's what we're going to walk through. When you look at college or when you see a report and it says, what does college cost? Most often what they were referring to is the quote-unquote sticker price. If you've bought a car of late, you might note that you walk up to the window and it says, here's how much the car costs. Most people don't actually pay that price for the car in one direction or the other. It's the same in college. So at William & Mary, we're fortunate that we meet full demonstrated need of every Virginia student. What we're going to walk through now is, if you think about the span of this slide as what tuition fees, room and board, that sticker price, the full public price looks like, we want to walk through how financial aid works to make college more affordable. This is true anywhere. We're going to highlight a couple of scenarios for William & Mary, but we just want to walk through the financial aid process. So Tim mentioned When you are applying to college, it's important to also apply. My oldest nephew is a senior in high school, so we're going through this right now. You fill out the FAFSA, which is the federal application for federal student aid, free application for federal student aid. Sorry, and the CSS profile. And what that does is it allows a school to say, okay, here is your demonstrated need in terms of what you can expect to pay for college. And so that begins with looking at what the expected. These are all formulaic things. What the expected family contribution would be. And from that, you would get this gap, which is financial need. Now, here's how colleges and universities will start to fill that gap. The first thing you'll look at working the back way is grants. Grants are the best form of financial aid because they don't have to be repaid. So in most financial aid letters that a young person gets, it includes overall a grants and loans packages. Grants are the best form of financial aid because it does not have to be repaid. When we walk through a couple of scenarios, we'll talk about federal grants. We'll also talk about institutional grants. There are state grants as well, and even some local, you may be familiar with local scholarship funds as well that would say, we're going to give you this money to support you going to school. The next thing is work study, which is a federal program through which you can have a job on campus that the government uses as part of your financial aid package. So you work a job, and the way you get paid is through this work study programming, but it gives you the capacity to earn money while you're in college at the university. The next piece is loans. There are federally subsidized loans and then private loans. The subsidized loans are better and also based on your income. And there can be a gap. So there will be some institutions where you look at here is the most financial aid that we can offer. There can be a gap. Again, at William & Mary, we're fortunate that we meet full demonstrated need for every student from Virginia. So if you look at examples, scenario one, whoops, don't want to touch anything here. All right, if you look at examples, this first scenario, for a family with three in the household, three members of the family, one of them going to college, and at those incomes and savings levels, the federal government would start with a Pell Grant.
Need some help?
Yeah. So the federal government would start with a Pell Grant. They're going to give you, in this scenario, they'd give them $1,045 to that student. The next thing that we would do at William & Mary is we would come in and say, based on your demonstrated need, we're going to offer you a grant that's almost $29,000. That, again, the grant money is the best money. We complement that with a small loan package. Federal government gives you the $1,900 in work study. We'd add the small loan package. I just want to thank Raven again, because this is always the other part about it. And then there would be a piece at the end that would be the family's expected contribution. So you start off talking about what the whole chunk is that you need to pay to go to college, and you work through and you say, the federal government, the university is giving me these grants that reduce the price. I can work my way through college and earn money that way. There will be a modest loan package, and then also a more modest family contribution. Let's take a look at another scenario. So this time, let's say there are four in the household, and that there's one student going to college, a little bit more in annual income, but less in savings. If you walk through that, the federal government here would say the Pell Grant is worth $6,400. There we go, $6,500. And in this particular scenario, again, based on the formulas that you calculate number in the household and all the rest, William & Mary would come in and say, we're going to cover the full cost of the grant. So when you look at what financial aid looks like, often people start with what's the sticker price? And this is the number on the left, and the scales are different, so this is a little bit hard. But you can look at a school like William & Mary, like UVA, VMI, and go, those are too expensive to be within reach. If you are a talented Virginian, we are going to meet your full demonstrated need when you enroll in our schools. And so if you look, again, I'm going to pick on William & Mary, it is the most expensive. It is among the more affordable when you actually get into what it looks like with financial aid. Now, the other piece to know is you're talking with students, this is an overall average. And so if you look at, Raven, can you give me that? There you go. We're highlighting William & Mary here, but these financial aid packages, just like we talked about in building the actual packages themselves, they differ by income bracket. So if you are a student from a family making less than $110,000 a year in Virginia, William & Mary ultimately is your most affordable option. And so if that student is looking and saying, hey, I'm only seeing the sticker price, I don't know how this can work, encourage that student to say, you are a talented young person. The colleges and universities in Virginia want you to be there, and if you're enrolled, that they're gonna be able to meet your need to greater degrees. But again, if you look at net price, that's what you're actually asking the families to pay, and how that works. The screen went dark. That means we're either done or you have questions that we'd be happy to answer.
Can I add one more resource when we're talking about when we're talking about financial aid that can be a helpful tool as you're working with families and students? All of us are required to have on our website something called the net price calculator. So this provides students and families an opportunity to go out to the university's website, enter in some questions about their financial situation, and be able to see right in front of them an estimated financial aid package. I will say some institutions, ourselves, I know our friends at University of Virginia also participate in this. We take that an extra step, and we have something called the My Intuition calculator, where you can go out to our financial aid webpage as a prospective student, answer, I think it's 5 or 6 very basic questions about family financial situation, and get spit right out to you what the expected cost is going to be, what that expected financial aid package will include, what you can probably estimate will be a likely scholarship or grant from that institution. So please know those resources are out there, and also know that those of us on the university side are anxious to help. If you have any difficulties finding those, reach out, or encourage the families to reach out, because we want to help the students locate that information.
Any questions? May is going to start clapping. We will be around at lunch. The clapping is sort of like, we will be here at lunch. I'm happy to take your questions.